Hi there, my name is Nicole, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about what an operating system is. So first I'm going to show you some examples of an operating system. So here we have Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. These are all operating systems that are currently in use. So what is an operating system? An operating system has three layers: the applications layer, the kernel layer, and the hardware. Applications are things like programs and processes that run on the computer. The kernel is what we call our operating system, or our OS, and the hardware consists of things such as the CPU, the memory, and other devices like the keyboard and the mouse. So what does the kernel do? It's the kernel's job to monitor all things that need access to the hardware of the computer. Some of its jobs include connecting hardware to the software, connecting to the internet, and deciding what processes to run when. So what's the point of a kernel? Why do we need a kernel at all? A kernel is important because it manages what information is allowed to access the hardware. This way, a user cannot misuse the hardware. A kernel also manages where information is placed into virtual and physical memory so that memory does not get overwritten or lost. The kernel also has a scheduler that decides which processes need to run and when they should run. There are two types of kernels: the microkernel and the monolithic kernel. The purpose of a microkernel is to make the kernel as small as possible. Things that would usually be contained in the kernel, like device drivers and system files, are turned into applications. The microkernel's sole job is memory management. Some pros of using a microkernel are that it's easily configurable, it's more robust and reliable, and it's more secure. The major downside to a microkernel is that since everything must travel through the kernel to get hardware permissions, it's slightly slower. A monolithic kernel takes some things that would usually be considered applications and places them into the kernel. This makes for a smaller applications layer in a larger kernel. This method can be useful because things contained in the kernel have direct access to hardware without first getting permissions like applications must do. There are a couple different approaches to creating a kernel. Polling is the first method. Polling is a method of implementing a kernel that constantly looks for things to be done. This means that the kernel is constantly waiting for the applications layer to give it something to do. This method isn't very good because it wastes energy. Interrupt-driven kernels wait patiently until a signal is sent to the kernel to do something. This process is called a trap. A trap is when a computer switches from the applications layer to the kernel layer. This method is generally regarded as better than polling since it conserves energy.